Today on Why I Kept It, Cacao. Cacao is a tile placement game that's probably on the lighter side of things. And the reason I've kept it is because it's the perfect complement to one of my favorite games of all time, Carcassonne. Now, I will write Carcassonne its own proper love letter when we get around to that episode, but my general feelings on Carcassonne is that I will only play it as a two-player game, and I refuse to play it with any of the expansions. Cacao is a very similar tile-laying game, in that there's generally 4 ways to score points by laying tiles, plus an additional endgame scoring effect that comes in when all the tiles have been played. You see who gets the most points and you win. Kinda sounds like Carcassonne. There's a little bit different, and I guess I'll explain that right now. You have 2 different types of tiles. You have worker camp tiles, which have your colored back for your player color. You start playing these, and as this checkerboard establishes itself on the board, if there's ever an open space with 2 neighboring tiles on it, these jungle tiles start flipping themselves out from the sort of the non-player character deck. They just start coming out and filling in jungle spaces automatically. And you could score points by putting your workers next to water, trading cocoa beans in at the market, planting cocoa beans, or having majority control of various temple spaces. And you get a nice little worker tableau here. It shows how far you've come along the water track. There's actually some severe negative points at the beginning there. It shows a maximum amount of spaces of how many cocoa beans you could have. And it also has these sunstone spaces, which later in the game, if you earn them, lets you build on top of other tiles, kind of upward style here. So it's a neat little package that is not specifically Carcassonne, although it has those similarities I described before. The reason I really like Cacao as a complement to it is that I really like Cacao as a 4-player game, whereas I only liked Carc with 2. So I'm never going to be in a situation where I want to play one or the other and I can't decide. They have a natural split in my mind. I'll also play Cacao with 3. There's totally nothing wrong with it. It's a neat game. There's a lot of shared incentives, a lot of having to feel out who's in the lead, because as you start flipping over these tiles and you get to decide, if it's your turn, how we're going to orient these little jungle tiles here, or your own player tiles to see how it can benefit you. You know, say 2 open spaces come up, you might flip it and decide which one you want to go in. There are other people's workers who may be bordering that open space, and you could be handing points to the other players. That's going to happen practically every turn. You're going to be handing points over to somebody in this shared incentive game alongside you. So there's a lot of tenuous alliances and making sure you don't let the leader get too far ahead. There's a little bit of a social aspect to the game as well. If I owned something like, say, Alhambra, maybe I wouldn't have jumped on Cacao. But if you started to see an overview of my collection here and the videos I've been doing, I don't have a whole lot of new hotness. The reason I even started this series is that my collection is pretty stable, and I just kind of felt like talking about it. It's nice to have a newer game like Cacao come onto the shelf every now and then, because there's a certain segment of gamers who will come over and want to play the new stuff, and they may or may not have played Cacao yet. The other reason I like it is because I may expand this in the future. I'm not a huge fan of expansions. I generally don't want to touch Alhambra expansions or Carcassonne expansions, but I've heard very good things about at least the first expansion for Cacao and the promo tiles they've put out for it. So it seems like it's a game that could have legs as a system, and I'm down for that if it's good. So Cacao, staying with me, at least for quite a while. That's another episode. Slightly newer game this time. Hope you enjoyed it. Keep watching. I'll see you around. Thanks, everybody.